Welcome to the first Honeybee video. Welcome to the first Honeybee video. I'm super excited to be kicking it off with y'all today. We're diving into Nettspend's debut album, BAFK. So we're gonna talk about how it stacks up with his earlier work, his flows on the project and the production. Pretty sure it was executive produced by We Gonna Be Okay, So we gonna be sharing our opinions, talking about his art, just breaking it down for real. So we can get into it. Alright, so before we jump into the album itself, let's rewind a little bit. So for those who didn't know, Nettspend's real name is Gunnar Green Shepherdson on some federal shit, and he was born on March 18th, 2007 in Richmond, Virginia. He's part of 1C, the collective, it had artists like 10K, K Suvi, and Xavier So Bass. There's more artists on there and more talented producers, but they're always like switching around members, some people leave, some people come back, so it's really hard to keep track with it. And in the earlier stages of his career, he was working more with these people, 1C affiliated artists, producers, and around this time in May 2023, he dropped his first EP, KiCKDOOR. Now, I don't know if this is his very first EP, but this is what I could find on SoundCloud, in the depths of SoundCloud. It gives us a good taste of his style. It's a good little EP. It was only 7 tracks, but it was a solid starting point, honestly. The energy was definitely there. I was messing with some of the flows. What was missing? Personally, I didn't feel like the songs were long enough. Like, there's a song on there that was like 58 seconds long, but it was just a little EP. Like, I'm not gonna like hold a high standard to an EP, especially like an underground EP. Like, he wasn't even signed. But other than the length of tracks, I would honestly say like substance in the lyrics. Like, I'm not too much of an old head or anything, but like every song he was just rapping about lean perks, pulling up on niggas. Well, nah, he was not saying nigga or nothing, but like, you know what I mean. But it's just the same old rap shit. I wanted something more deep, pause. Just something more personal for like, I'm not about to ask too much out of this dude, but even just like one track or just like a couple bars or just one verse, like on some introspective shit, that would really catch my ear. Just hearing it from Nettspend, because you never hear that shit from him. He got the energy, the flow, the beat selection. It's really just about subject matter that he needs to improve on, and that's how I feel like it is for most artists nowadays. They just all rapping about the same shit, so none of them pop out. But like, they do pop out, but like, it gets old over time too. Then it just starts slowly falling. We're gonna touch on that subject later on in the video, but for me now, I'd give that EP a 6 out of 10. Honestly, I personally enjoyed some of the songs, but it just got boring after a while. It was just he was just talking about the same thing on the whole EP pretty much. So like, the songs that didn't have a good flow to it, or like had a good flow to it at first and then it kind of started like slowing down, those are probably my least favorite songs, because if you're not talking about none, you gotta focus on your flow. You gotta make sure that shit on point. You gotta make sure your flow on point and the beat, if you're not gonna be talking about nothing or like telling a story. And you don't always have to be talking about something, but at least try to make sure you're making sense or like trying to convey a message, And this pattern still follows him even in his recent work, but after a week he dropped KiCKDOOR. He dropped another EP, which was a deluxe. It was called KiCKDOOR Plus. But the real shift came later in 2023. That's when he actually started working with bigger producers like OK, that later went on to executive produce his most recent album, BFK. And then of course there's that viral snippet, Drank on Twitter, that blew up. That shit got a bunch of attention, bro. And there were like, people were either loving it or they were just hating it. And I feel like the hate fueled it so much, that's why it blew up. But you could definitely tell he had some potential to it, and he was different, because that's why people was hating it. And he definitely took advantage of that opportunity, which some people would, I ain't gonna lie, some people would drop the ball. Alright, so fast forward to November 2024, around the current time. After a couple of delays, like teasing the album and stuff, he finally officially dropped BFK December 6, 2024. The album we've been waiting for. Alright, so now let's talk about the album itself, BFK, the whole reason I made this video. I was just giving y'all some background lore about, his art, his previous art, just really what built him up to this album. What brought him here, pretty much. And I didn't want to stay stuck on one whole topic for the whole video, pretty much, just make the video longer than it needed to be, so I didn't cover everything. I just covered like a vague summary of it. So let's get to this album. Alright, had 15 tracks, no features. It's kind of crazy for a debut album, because I was thinking like he could have had at least one feature on it that was bigger than him, that would bring more people to come to it, but I don't know what his label's planning. He signed to Grade A, I'm pretty sure. but I feel like a feature would have helped him, especially from like another underground artist, or like even an artist like shit. He was out there with Chicago artists like Von off 1700. He was with Chief Keef. He was with Lucky. Like, they definitely could have thrown it back to get him a feature. But everything is pretty much produced by OK. I was hoping that one Pierre beat he hopped on the Instagram Live was going to be on the album, but I don't know if they got to clear it or he's just saving it for later. But yeah, it's pretty much produced by OK, and you can hear his influence all over the album. And the most streamed track is Skipping Class, which is crazy because I think it's the most streamed, at least on SoundCloud, because of the beat. Literally just because it's powered by OK. Because the sample was crazy, the beat was crazy. But when it comes to NetSpend hopping on it, I don't know if I need to let it grow on me. I just don't think his vocal performance or flow was that good on this specific track. I feel like there are more tracks on this album where he went crazier than this one. But the beat was very enjoyable. Besides Numbers though, my favorite tracks on the album were Leader, Tommy, and Perc Soda. Tommy gives me heavy Young Thug vibes, the way he was using his voice. I like how he combines that inspiration with like Blade kind of instrumentals. Like, he's taking Young Thug inspiration and mixing it with like electronic heavy beats, which it went good together. I can't lie. And I know I already brought this up in the video earlier about his substance abuse, and I know I said Perc Soda was one of my favorite songs on the album, but it's not one of my favorite songs on the album because he was rapping about putting perks in soda. It's about how he delivered on the track, his energy, his flow, and I just messed with it heavy. He could have been talking about anything else, and it still would have been hard in that same style. That's what makes him good. He knows how to put that energy in, and he knows how to flow on the beat. But out of all of these songs, my most favorite's honestly called Shut Up. Like, that beat was so crazy, and I feel like he flowed over that one better than he did, what's it called? Better than he flowed on Skipping Class. Especially with that crazy beat drop. I feel like they just matched perfectly together in like a fusion. Like, that song is honestly like one of the best songs he dropped, in my opinion. I'm not too much of a NetSpend fan, but from that album, that was one of the highest for me for sure. But there are some low points, like the opener, Growing Up. Starts off pretty solid, but then the lyrics kind of fall apart. Like, you got lines like slut truck, and like, yeah, like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, what does that have to do with growing up? I don't want to be too picky, but he really could have painted a picture about his life and like growing up and like what made him start abusing these substances, like the kind of feeling that comes with that. And that would have been one of his best songs, honestly. But I'm not sure if I should even expect that from him yet, because it's not really fair to hold him to that level, because he's been doing what he's been doing and it's been working, so I respect that. But doing that in his songs and being vulnerable enough to tell his story is what will take him to the next level as an artist. BAFK isn't necessarily bringing anything new or personal to the table. It's got a lot of the same things we've heard before: drugs, partying, growing up. But why is he rapping about it? What's his story? What makes NetSpend stand out? Right now, I don't know. He's got potential, but I feel like I'm still waiting to feel something deeper when I listen to him. Rapping about slut trucks just don't do it for me. Like in some songs you could do it if it's a hype song, but if you naming a song Growing Up, bro, I want to hear how it was for you growing up. Like, you could have really done some shit. Compared to his KiCKDOOR EP though, the production is way better, the mixing is way better, way smoother, and there's more variety in sounds. But honestly, there's still no real story or substance to latch onto. If I had to rate the album though, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's definitely a step forward, but I still don't feel like he's fully there yet. And when I give him this 7 out of 10 rating, it's compared to his last EP. When I give out rating, it's compared to their bodies of work. I'm not going to compare them to the general rap scene, because that's just not fair. I'm going to compare an artist to their previous work. And looking at him as a 17-year-old artist, I'm curious where he'll be in 5 years. He signed to Grade A, same label that signed Juice WRLD. It's another artist that struggled with the same substance abuse issues, so I really hope Grade A doesn't let this kid go down the same road. All respect to Juice WRLD though, but they definitely could have handled that way better, in my opinion. In this video, I'm going to end off on this clip from Professor Sky's record review. I feel like it really wraps up the point I'm trying to get across. So that's my take on.
Again, he's saying we're going to be okay, but if you get used to putting Percocets in your soda, the chances of you being okay goes way down. Doing drugs does not make you more interesting, it makes you a consumer, okay? If you think consumers are interesting, if you think it's interesting to go to Burger King and buy a Whopper, and that Whopper is your personality, you are Whopper buying dude, then by all means, be interesting by doing drugs. You're just consuming. Stop consuming and start creating. This kid's interesting because he's a creator, not because he's a consumer. So if you listen to NetSpend and what you take away from it is, I should be interesting by putting Percocets in my soda, that is not how you become interesting. That is how you become a consumer. If you want to be like NetSpend, become a creator.
So that's my take on BFK. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you made it through the whole video, comment with a B. Let me know if you think NetSpend can take it to the next level or if he's still trying to figure it out.